Welcome to this episode of Transform Her, the show where we ignite audacity and break barriers, equipping African women with practical insights and tangible resources for their journey to the C-suite or as leaders and entrepreneurs. We'll be right back after this short break. Welcome back. Today I have in the studio someone who is really dear to me. Her name is Eno Essien. She's the Chief Executive Officer of Rheytrak, a vehicle tracking company that's licensed by the Nigerian Communications Commission. This is a company she started 17 years ago at the tender age of 25 with no prior work experience. You can see that I'm already describing a lady general. And I said she's special to me. But I just want to go through her bio because it's very important that I tell you that not only does this company recover stolen vehicles with a very, very high success rate from Lagos, Abuja, Port Harcourt, Akwa Ibom. They just recovered a stolen vehicle, I think it was in Abuja 2 or 3 days ago. And I graduated from University of Calabar in microbiology. She was a finalist at the first Bold Woman Award by Verve Clicquot in Nigeria. She was recognized by Guardian newspaper as one of the women who made impact in 2019. She's one of 50 youth from 20 sub-Saharan African countries who came together. I think it was some publication, right? A book that's even featured in Vogue Italia and all of these things. So that we don't spend the whole episode reading her very long bio. Let me tell you why Eno is special to me. Eno is my school daughter from secondary school, Chrisland College. And to have her here in the studio, Eno, you are welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here.
I'm happy you are here. Now, this episode, we titled it Leading with Resilience, Eno's vision for African female leadership. You can see already that there are too many stories, and she did this with resilience, and you'll find out why in this episode. But let's start. Rheytrak. 17 years ago, you were 25. You had never worked before. What? Just tell me the story. Just how did it happen?
Okay. I think from an early age, I always used to say to my mom, so I grew up, my dad is a journalist, and it was compulsory to read newspapers and watch the network news. And I read a lot about women. There were some women that stood out. I loved to read about them. I loved how they stood out. And I wanted to be like them. I wanted to stand out. I wanted to do something that was going to make me stand out. And I wanted people to also read about me. But I didn't know what it was that I wanted to do. But I just used to say it a lot to my mom. When I'm 25, people would know me,
You spoke it.
Yes, I spoke it into existence,
Yes.
The power of the words. And I went through school. My childhood ambition was to become a medical doctor, but JAMB score, so I couldn't do medicine. I went in to study microbiology, thinking that after a year, I'll change to medicine. But along the line, I just thought, okay, let me go on with this, And while in school, I think that should be my third final year, there was a long strike, and I started to sell. I would buy, I would sell, and I think that was how I got into business. That was my experience at business. And then my mom, who was also into business, I had all of those, Then I had, in the course of selling perfumes, I had an experience. I had met a man who told me about the GSM car alarm system, which is a technology before the vehicle tracking system, but I didn't buy it. I just thought my car is covered with the blood of Jesus. Then I then had a robbery incident. I went to visit a friend. I went to pick up things my sister had sent, and unfortunately I was at the wrong place at the wrong time. Armed robbers came in there and stole my other friend's car. And that was it. The car went. So I then called up the man who had told me about the GSM car alarm to say, okay, if that device was in this car, would they have been able to find it? And he says, yes, they would demobilize the vehicle, but it won't give, the technology then, it won't give you the exact location, but they will demobilize the vehicle, So I was pretty much curious. So I just connected the dots together. You know, my desire to build something from the ground up and make an impact, the technological curiosity, you know, then the entrepreneurship drive. So it was a combination of all these things that led to the birth of Rheytrak, in summary. Yeah.
Wow. But you see, a male-dominated industry. You know, when women come on this show, I say to them that, first of all, we only speak to lady generals. And these are women like you who have been to battle. In business, in entrepreneurship, you have been to battle. And so I'd like for you to reveal these battle scars. What are the obstacles? What challenges have you faced in this male-dominated industry?
So, you know, at that time, being young, I believe that you're fearless when you're younger. Now, if I had to start Rheytrak, I'm thinking of so many factors. But then I was stronger. I was fearless. I wasn't thinking being male or being female, you know, and there's a saying that strength has no gender. I just wanted to do something. I just wanted to do something that was going to make me stand out. Challenges. Oh yes, there's been a whole lot of challenges. I mean, doing business is tough. It's challenging. I remember in Lagos Business School, I did a course there, and there was a particular module we had called doing business in China. I think it needs to be revised to doing business in Nigeria. You know, we need to study that. So there were so many challenges. Is it the startup, raising the startup capital? You know, what usually happens is people work for years, they save money, and then they start up business. I didn't work. I was selling perfumes. I mean, what was the profit and all of those things? So getting funding, securing funding for business was a challenge. The challenge of building a good technological system, a good technological platform, because, you know, tracking is IT, is technology related, you know, the challenge of having to build that. I remember when we started, there were times that I'm trying to send a mail and I'll have to sit outside my office to get internet signal. You know, now you could sit wherever you are and internet is much better, much better. So the challenge of building a good technological platform was there. I had the challenge of securing, gaining trust from clients, you know, being able to gain market credibility. You know, that was a challenge. There was also building a good team, building a formidable team made up of my technical team, my installers, my staff, you know. That was also a challenge. The challenge of scaling up, you know, having to go to build branches all across service, because we provide service nationwide, which means that if your vehicle is in Zamfara, we're coming there to provide the service, you know. So scaling up, I went through that challenge. And I would also say maybe the challenge of competition, though at the beginning, I wasn't thinking of competition. I didn't even know who was involved in the business. You know, I think it was over the years, the challenge of all that. So I went through all of those challenges, and I faced them head on, tackled them, and here we are. And I feel like I haven't completely overcome the challenge. I mean, every time I feel like business is like running a hurdle, running a race, constantly jumping over hurdles. So that's how it's been for me and for us at Rheytrak.
So one of the things we do on this show is that as we are speaking, sometimes I cut away just to tell the ladies what it is you said, catch significant moments.
All right.
And this is a very significant moment. But what struck me is that this was born out of necessity. And so it was solution and value driven. Somebody's car was stolen. You recall the conversation where someone has spoken to you about GSM tracking, and you went back to that person and to that conversation. That is strength right there. It's really commendable. Something else you said, ladies, did you even hear it in her voice? When she was speaking about the challenges, she said expansion, right, and scaling up. Because if your car is in Zamfara, we are coming there. Tell us about your innovation, plans for innovation, and, you know, at Rheytrak.
Okay, so because technology is growing, everything is advancing. We're now at the GPS, SMS, the vehicle tracking service. Remember I said we started off as the GSM. So what I've been doing is I find that I'm constantly reading, constantly trying to educate myself, constantly being creative, constantly innovating, because if you stay on that spot, the world will pass you by. So this is us constantly coming up with solutions, constantly thinking of ways to create. Even in terms of recovery, you mentioned we recovered a vehicle. It was actually stolen. This latest recovery was stolen in Ibadan, Oyo State, and it was recovered in Akure, Ondo State. You know, our mode of recovery has advanced unlike how it was even 10, 15 years ago. You know, we work with the Nigerian police in terms of recovery, and this particular recovery was excellent. They did a fantastic job in recovery. So we find that we are constantly trying to innovate, constantly trying to get better so that we can remain. Our slogan is the preferred vehicle tracking company, so that we can remain the preferred and relevant in business.
Fantastic. But so this is just takes us straight into my next question. In this Red Sea, cutthroat, you know, competitive environment, I'm sure there are other vehicle tracking companies. Let's call them your competitors. How do you stay ahead of the curve?
The first thing, like I mentioned earlier, is constantly innovating, constantly creating, building customer trust. Our clients knowing that they can reach us at any minute of the day. There's somebody on hand to respond to you. There's somebody on hand to attend to you. Even at the times where your vehicle breaks down and it has nothing to do with the tracking. But because we have our device in there, we're not going to leave you on the road stranded. You know, so we build that customer trust. We relate to clients. We keep them informed on activities that have to do with Rheytrak, the things that we do, even when there is a recovery, you know, so constantly being in touch with them, constantly growing, you know, but at the core of it is the customer service.
Okay, you know, I want to move to another very, I don't want to use the word emotional, but deep topic. The title of this episode is Leading with Resilience. At 25, you started a vehicle tracking company that is now recognized and licensed by the NCC. But in those years, you know, you survived breast cancer. Just talk me through the journey of finding out, dealing with it, and you are here today by God's special grace.
11 years after.
So how did you find out? What happened?
Okay. It was in the middle of what I would call a perfect year. We had just turned 5 in business. We had just gotten our license. I had gotten my first recognition, which was the Future Awards.
Sure.
And we just opened our Port Harcourt branch, our Port Harcourt office. So I went in for business to start up. And that night in the hotel, I lay down to sleep and my hand just went straight right to my breast, to the lump. My hand went straight right to the lump. And I just thought, what is this? You know, I got up, checked the other side. There was nothing. So I did, you know, the self-examination. So I did it and still the lump was there. So at that point, I called my mom. My mom is a retired nurse, retired hospital matron. So I called her to say, I just noticed a lump. And she goes, oh, no, there's nothing wrong. Don't worry about it. Go to bed. You know, she dismissed it. And we dismissed it like that for 6 months. Because, you know, sometimes we don't expect that bad things will happen to you or to anyone around you. You know, so, but I noticed that as the days went by, the lump, my hand was always going there and the lump was growing. You know, so I then spoke with a surgeon, a family friend, and he says, if there's a lump, come in, let's take it out.
We're going to take a short break, and when we come back, we'll still be speaking to Eno Essien of Rheytrak. Stay tuned. Welcome back. Still on the show is Eno Essien of Rheytrak.
So I went in for a minor procedure. They took it out and I thought, finally it's all over, and then about 2 weeks after, I then got the report. One early morning on the 20th of March, I was preparing to go for a service before I go to work. Normally, I would go late for that church program. It's like a morning prayer meeting. But that morning, I was determined to wake up very early and go for it. So I was all getting ready. And then my mom comes to say, Pastor, we had a family friend, a pastor, he was around. And I just thought, I would kind of early morning visit, So anyways, that's how they broke it to me, that the prognosis or the result was out and it was cancerous, I mean, at that point, I died,
1,000, I mean.
Yeah, I died. I was 29, everything just went by like, and the interesting thing, as at then, I didn't know anyone who had survived cancer. Everyone I had heard then was, this person had cancer and died, so I'm like, just like that, But somehow with God, I mean, I owe my survival to God, with God putting my family, putting the pastor, and access to good medical care. I was able to keep decreeing that, okay, yes, this thing happens to other people, Psalm 91, there's a scripture in Psalm 91 that says 1,000 may fall by my side, and I translated it to 1,000 may die by my side, 10 would die right next to me, but it will not come near me. So I would say that my faith in God strengthened me. It helped me, and we packed our bags and moved to the UK to receive treatment. I was there for a year. Went through surgery. I had lumpectomy, chemotherapy, radiotherapy, tamoxifen for 10 years. And here I am sat here today, completely healed, whole, and thriving to the glory of God. Yeah. And in all of it, I still worked. It didn't affect my job. I was still working. So you see, I didn't share the diagnosis with anyone. And the reason I did that was because I didn't want any negativity. I didn't want, how you say to someone, my head is paining me. And the next I say, okay, my auntie died of that same headache. Those are the things you hear. My leg is paining me. That's how that man started. And then they had to amputate his leg. Oh, wow. So I didn't need all of those negativity. I would even ask, maybe then I would see like someone is dead. What happened? He had cancer. She had cancer, So I'd had to guard my heart, guard my mind seriously, and just hold on to the word of God. I was working when I left. So I told everyone, even at work, that I was going to school. So no one knew, nobody knew what I was going for. And I had lost so much weight. So it was like, okay, this fit farm thing, you did you cut your hair, you lose your hair. I lost my hair, lost my nails in the course of the treatment. Oh yes, I just wanted a new look. So I just kept guarding my mind and went through it all. And I mean, it wasn't as easy as I make it sound, but yes, with God, I went through it all.
Bless God. But of course, it can never be as easy as you make it sound. And there's so many lessons to learn from this story, ladies. And resilience. I come back to that word in our title. She didn't want to burden her staff, people around her, but more importantly, she thought ahead, right? At what negative confessions, at what pity could have done to her, and decided on bearing that burden gallantly. And I thank God for you, your mom, your family that was there to support you. And I just bless God that you are here, beautiful, radiant, the ball of energy that I know. This is fantastic. Something occurred to me. Rheytrak was about 5 years old. Mm-hmm. And you said I kept working. How was the company functioning when you were away? What safeguards did you put in place?
So I had this 22-inch desk jet on my table, very big system. I traveled with that computer in a box. I just padded it with pillows. So I had my computer set up. When I go in for chemo, when I go in for treatment or surgery, the moment I recover, I'm back on my system working.
Wow.
Attending to all the meals, receiving calls, lifers, I was just working. The interesting thing, that year, the turnover of my business was double the previous year and any other year, going backwards, So I was working, I was still, everything, there was no hitch. Because see, I always wanted a successful business. I imagined how the business was going to run. Even when the challenges came, I never imagined those bits, so I didn't let I didn't let what the problem was affect it, I just went on with business. And yes, cancer made me, I came out more resilient, it made me have, empathy, it made me, I had a positive mindset. So it changed my style of leadership. Yes, it made me more empathetic,
Wow.
And in general, I usually say that cancer made me a happier person. It may sound, yes, but cancer made me a happier person. I found that prior to then, I was just existing. But my life in the last 11 years, I have lived and I have lived loudly, and I feel like this is God giving me a second chance. Not many people get a second chance,
I know.
The people who get the diagnosis and before you know it, they're gone, So this is God giving me a second chance and I'm making the best out of it.
You are making the best out of it. I've said this before on the show. It's not how many times you fall, but how many times you get up. Packed her large, almost mainframe. Those old computers. She packed it, padded it in a box, took it to the UK. At every opportunity, outside of chemo or whatever treatment, she was at her desk servicing her business. And then at the end of that year, recorded a turnover, the best that her business had seen yet. This is something. We came here to discuss resilience in leadership for African women, particularly, but for women the world over. Talk us through this. Give us your contribution as a woman leader.
You see, like you said earlier, there would always be challenges, but you shouldn't allow the challenge affect the vision. We need to remember why we started that thing that we started, whatever it is that you're in. You need to remember the vision and you need to just keep going. So irrespective of what happens, what I do is I take a step back, look at how to strategize, re-strategize, and then I move on full on, So we need to, there should never be excuses. That's also a slogan. I say, no excuses at all. Whatever it is, come up with a solution. Think of how you can make a positive impact. Impact is key, and keep at it.
You heard it all. I could write a whole book. But ladies, for the sake of time, I just want to summarize. Empathy, renewed mindset, no excuses, the can-do spirit. But to summarize all of that, Eno said, do not lose sight of the vision and the solution that you want to provide. So I would call it, or I would term it, eyes on the ball, the solution, which definitely will make the impact if you stay the course. Thank you so much for coming on Transform Her.
Thank you for having me.
Resilience Part 1. I know you're coming back. Ladies, it's been a great pleasure hosting the show and your transformative guide, Ifeoma Williams. Please stay tuned for our next segment, which is our coaching segment. Welcome to this coaching segment of Transform Her. In this new season, we're moving to another facet in the 3 dimensions of executive presence. And this time we're going to be focusing on restraint, which is one of the facets in the character dimension of executive presence. It's a very key quality for effective leadership. Now, I've always said to you that effective leadership boils down to effective communication. As a leader, if you are able to communicate effectively, then you are able to inspire the people who you lead to action as desired. Restraint is described as a cardinal virtue in leadership. To help you better understand what restraint is, I'd like for us to look at the attributes of restraint, and these include temperance, moderation, self-regulation, equanimity, as well as emotional intelligence. I'm also going to tell you a short story to help you better understand what restraint is all about. It's the story of a leader called Onyade Ekaite. Onyade is a PhD holder from a globally acclaimed university. She has over 20 years work experience. She has sound technical knowledge. In fact, she is seen as a visionary. Because of all of these her great qualities and accomplishments, she was recently appointed as the CEO of Global Tech Company. But guess what? Onyade has been described as verbose and not concise in her communication, especially during meetings. Onyade can be over eager, but at the same time, she's reserved. And then she's not assertive. Now let's unpack all of that. You see, in spite of her sound technical knowledge, in conveying the knowledge at meetings, she's not concise. She goes into too much technical detail and she loses the rest of the team. When she wants to introduce a new product, she's overly eager and excitable, imagining that the excitement and the energy would help people key into the vision. But some people think that over-eagerness is acting. And so they're looking through her and saying, this is not authenticity. And then she's now reserved. And so when her over-eagerness is met with perhaps not the kind of response that she wants, she pulls back and then she now comes across as a little too reserved, aloof, and people can't quite place what she's thinking. And so you see, she's all over the place and not communicating a strong leadership brand. And, you know, in line with being too reserved and aloof, she comes across as not assertive. But one might ask the question, can Onyade change who she fundamentally is? Now, that's a very big question. And I said, we're on this journey of restraint, and in the next episode, we'll fully examine if Onyade can change who she is. So stay tuned for this very interesting series on restraint and much, much more in the next episode of Transform Her. Until next time, goodbye.